So I wanted to go ahead and talk about Space Marines 2 with the game just releasing and it being big of a hit as it is. So we're gonna get into the numbers and the data that we got for the information as far as the player base. But before we get into that, I just wanted to kind of go over this article right here, just in case anyone was wondering. So is Warhammer 40K Space Marines 2 cross-platform? So it's not a big article, a little bit of information. We'll go over this. Just real quick though, the gist of it is yes and no. So it'll get a little bit into detail about that. So we'll go ahead and go over this. So Space Marines 2 is a strange case in which the answer is yes and no, depending on what you're talking about. For crossplay, the game only supports full cross-platform support for PlayStation 5, Xbox Series X and S, and the PC in co-op mode. That would be either the campaign or the operations mode. On the other hand, consoles and PCs are divided for the PvP mode. Here, PC players are sectioned off while PlayStation and Xbox players can still battle it out on an even playing field. So pretty much if you're doing player versus player, PlayStation and Xbox, those are considered cross platforms, and then PC is its own entity. So this is similar to the cross platform setup for Fallout 76 and Ark Survival Evolved, which have partial cross platform support. Thankfully, cross progress is much simpler matter. Once you set up your Prism Ray online services account before playing, you can access this same account on any platform to move your saves wherever you go. This will require you to own a copy of the game on multiple platforms to take advantage of it, but the feature is there if you need it. So that is something to think about. If anyone does want to do cross-platform, just be aware if you do want to do player versus player, you're going to have to pretty much stick with PC or console. So if you own both, you can, more than likely do both if you have friends that you want to play with. But if you only got one, then yeah, that's going to be pretty much where you're at. So I just want to get my thoughts on that and let you guys know that information, and then we'll get into the other article over here. So Warhammer 40K Space Marines 2 is already breaking franchise records. Almost 250,000 people were playing the co-op shooter on Steam yesterday, and it's true. I've been hearing a lot of people talk about this. I've been seeing a lot of people stream it, and yeah, it looks pretty cool. So I went to the Dallas Fan Expo back in June, and when I was there was a section where they had like their little video game section area where people were playing this game, if I'm not mistaken, because it could have been mistaken. I could be mistaken where it was a different game that they were playing, but from what it looked like, this was the game that they were playing, like all this battling that they're doing right here. So it did look like a fun game. It is one of those things. This, like, a game like this can be something that I would personally play, or it can be something that I would skip out on. Honestly, when I was watching people play, it looked like it was a fun game, but I was thinking to myself, like, I don't know if I would see myself playing this. But I do know that whenever I am playing video games and everything like that, there are times, I'm sure other games out there can relate, whenever you're playing your game or something and you get kind of bored with a game, you start looking at your collection of video games that you want to play, and you'll be thinking like, man, I want to play something like, the games that I was playing right now are currently are kind of like a little bit slower paced or not that fast, fast action kind of games like this kind of gameplay is right here. So to be able to switch from that to kind of get a fast, quick action kind of shoot 'em up kind of game, I think I would probably want to get it in that regards, because it does seem like it is, full of action and everything like that, which is, one of the things I really like to consider whenever I'm playing a game. So we'll get into the article as well. So with the official launch of Warhammer 40K Space Marines 2 yesterday, the game is ripping and shredding the previous record for the entire Warhammer video game series apart. That's because the co-op shooter saw over 250,000 concurrent players on Steam. PC Games Network pointed out that the total set a new concurrent player record for the entire Warhammer series, including the fantasy games. Space Marines 2 secured the top spot with 250,690 current concurrent players per Steam database, overtaking the total Warhammer 3's peak of 166,754 per Steam database. It's also important to note that Space Marines 2 has had a full weekend under its belt, yet with the general public. So it's possible the game sees more concurrent players from September 13th through the 15th. So that's going to be its upcoming weekend. So people who paid for the gold and ultra edition of Space Marines 2 got to start the third-person shooter last week. This led to Focus Entertainment asking early access players to be cool and not spoil the story for the game. There are a whole bunch of players already fighting back against the agents of chaos. Publisher Focus Entertainment revealed there are more than 2 million players already. That's wild when you think about it, especially considering the fact that like I did a video on what was it? I think it was Concord, how they were talking about how the player base was like 30 something players. So to be able to go from like a game like that that's got 30 something players to a game like this that's got 2 million players, like that's a huge difference. So that's wild to me. So additionally, Space Marines 2 is also available on PS5 and Xbox Series X and S. As such, there is crossplay for the campaign between consoles and PC, while competitive PvP is sold off between PC and consoles. So that's what we talked about earlier. So if you're getting started, check out 11 tips on how to bring a glory to Emperor co-op shooter, and then something. So yeah. So I think that's pretty cool. The game looks like it's fun. I'm hearing a lot of positive things. One thing I will say though that is a negative is that I was watching a stream, someone was streaming the game last night, and they were pretty much saying that they were able to beat the game in 2 streams. So from what they were stating, the game is about 10 hours worth of content as far as the story mode goes and like the main missions that you'll be doing. Personally, I that would probably bug me a little bit because the game is it's sold at full price. From what I've heard, $60 is what you have to pay. So for them to charge $60 for a game that's only got 10 hours worth of content, I don't really like that. I don't really appreciate that at all, especially considering the fact that there are talks out there that there is going to be DLC that's going to be coming out and that they're going to be bringing into the works. That's nice and all, but is that DLC going to be charging you as well? Are you going to have to pay, 10, $20 for that DLC in order to play it? Because if that's the case, that's just going to add on to the price of the $60 of a game that, it only had 10 hours worth of content for the main story. So unless this game has a lot of replayability and, it's something that you can enjoy going back to, that's something I would very much consider a negative as far as the game goes. So those are my thoughts on that. As far as the game itself, are you guys happy that Warhammer 40K was able to make this achievement? I've heard there's a lot of people that have been stating that Warhammer games have never really been able to get this type of like love as far as becoming kind of like a AAA title. So for anyone out there that is into the Warhammer games, let me know what you guys think. Let me know what your guys' thoughts in the comment section are. Are you looking forward to this game? If you haven't gotten it already, are you going to get it? And yeah, we'll go from there. Until next time, Harmonic out. Peace.